Welcome to Beating Cancer Daily. Beating stage 4 cancer for 30 years still takes my breath away every time I say it. I'm Saranne, founder of the Comedy Cures Foundation, and I hope you'll join me for just a few minutes daily for the next 365 days so we may laugh, learn, maybe cry a little as we live our best days beating cancer daily together. So last night I cheated. I don't want to say what I ate because Jacqui Bryan, our certified nutrition specialist, is listening. But for some reason, my husband had this craving and I went with him to this restaurant and it's right in front of me. I couldn't resist. I tried it. But my daughter says, if you take enzymes, the price you pay if you're gluten intolerant or dairy intolerant is not as bad. So I popped a couple enzymes knowing that I was going to fall. I was going to be coerced into eating something that is bad for me on every level because I am dairy and gluten intolerant. And those little enzymes did not work. They did not work for me. So they've never worked for me. My daughter says they do work for her. They've never worked for me. So when Jacqui said that she wanted to do an episode on enzymes, I was like, oh, I can't wait because maybe she has some clever trick or some wisdom so that I could use enzymes more effectively. It's not that I love cheating. I rarely do it because the price I pay is not worth it. And I'm not going to go into details about what happens, but let's just say it involves a throne for too many hours for the rest of the night. So I am here to welcome back to Beating Cancer Daily our favorite recurring guest. She's been on for over 140 episodes out of the 440 episodes that we've done. And so I want to welcome back Jacqui Bryan.
Thank you, Saranne. I'm so sorry you didn't feel well. I actually don't like to call occasional treats a cheat because I think that's part of living, right? We find foods that we can enjoy. The goal is to not do it just all the time. Did you
No.
enjoy it at least while you were eating it?
This was so bad. It was the combination of everything that I cannot eat, but it was indulgent and I kept him company. And then he said, do you want to take home the leftovers? And I'm like, and have evidence in the house and then be reminded of the eating crime? I don't think so. But
Oh, you're using all the words that are disturbing to me, the cheating and the crime and the
and the evidence.
I know. Food is meant to be enjoyed. This episode about digestive enzymes, I think is really interesting for the situation that you shared. But also, even if you've eaten a completely normal meal and then maybe you spent the rest of the night unbuttoning your pants because you were bloated, or maybe you feel like you swallowed a brick, or even in the situation where you had a glass of milk and it sends your stomach into rebellion
Check,
and,
check,
and
check,
maybe
check, 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 check. We could say all of those and more, Jacqui.
I think one of the things I want us to think about is why is it that you might be out with a friend and they have something and it upsets your stomach and they have the same thing and it doesn't upset their stomach, right? I think it's really interesting and digestive enzymes could play a role in that.
This is really good information. And it doesn't mean that I want to go do that a lot, but sometimes you're aware it's the only thing that the hostess is serving, and you're in this awkward position. And sometimes I just go without eating anything but some vegetables. And even those are prepared in butter. And I really shouldn't be having any dairy. So any little tips would be so helpful for me.
Well, I think it's really interesting because the situation that we're talking about today can occur when you're heading out for a special event and you're eating something you normally don't eat, but it can also happen even with a just a regular meal. When we think about what digestive enzymes are, these are the microscopic workhorses, and they take the food that you put on your plate and they turn it into something that your body can actually use. I think that is so cool. So, for example, like amino acids are going to help you build muscle. Fatty acids are going to build hormones, and glucose are going to provide the fuel for your brain. And nothing happens without those enzymes doing the heavy lifting. So, what I mean by that is those amino acids are not going to help build the muscle without the enzymes that we're talking about today. So, today we're going to cover what the enzymes or the digestive enzymes are, what their jobs are, what are the warning signs that maybe your digestive system might need a little bit more support, what's the research saying about supplements, and just food first ways, because that's my strategy. That's what Saranne and I talk a lot about in our podcast. We talk about these podcasts being a conversation starter, but we also like people to understand that so much of what we share for information is not in a supplement. It's more into what you can do for lifestyle.
Yeah, last night my stomach was definitely having an identity crisis. It was suffering, and it wasn't worth it. At the end of the day, it just wasn't worth it.
I just need to know, was there any joy at all? Can you just tell me what you ate?
No, I can't.
No,
But it
you
was
can't.
no,
Okay.
I can't even say the word anymore.
No,
I never say the
my
word.
imagination's going crazy right now. I need to know. I know our listeners want to know.
It just involved wheat and dairy. And those independently send my stomach into a frenzy. So to have them in a combo plan, nope, just
Do you know when I was a kid, my mom and my grandparents, they would give us a snack of bread, butter, and sugar. That was the snack. And I laughed because when you were saying that, I'm like, I bet she had a bread, butter, and sugar sandwich. The wheat, the dairy, all of those things. All right, let's start with the basics, right? So, digestive enzymes are proteins, and their entire job is to break down the food that you eat into smaller pieces so that your body can actually absorb it. Think of them like a set of sort of specialized scissors. There's a special pair of scissors that can only cut carbohydrates. There's another set of scissors that can only cut proteins, and another one that can only cut fat. None of them can do each other's jobs, which is why it's really important to understand and to make sure you have enough of these enzymes. And your body actually makes these enzymes all the way down your digestive tract. And you might remember that digestive tract starting at your mouth, going all the way to your anus is 30 feet long. It's a very long tube, and a lot can happen. So the process actually starts. We make these enzymes, and it actually starts before we start to swallow. It actually starts in your mouth. So think about that for a moment. The moment that you start chewing, an enzyme in your saliva called amylase starts breaking down starches. And that's why when you eat bread, maybe in that bread, butter, and sugar sandwich,
just to come clean and be fair. My father let us have dessert first. So that's number one. And number two, his go to was Texas Tommy's.
oh,
And
I don't know what that is, but
oh
it
man,
sounds
it's not
bad.
going to make you happy. It's a hot dog with bacon and cheese
Oh
on
my
a
goodness.
white bread roll.
That'll make you feel the brick in your stomach.
I'm like, no wonder I got cancer.
We're not recommending the bread, butter, and sugar, and we're not recommending that hot dog with bacon and everything else on it, right? We're actually recommending healthier food. I want to go back just for a second to how we start breaking down our food in our mouth. So when you start breaking down those carbohydrates in your mouth, for example, when you're eating the bread, you start faintly tasting the sweet in your mouth, right? And that's because it's starting to break down. The starch is already being converted into sugar in your mouth with the help of that amylase. And from there, the food travels down to your stomach, where the acids and enzymes begin to break down protein. and that's with the enzyme protease. And then it moves into the small intestine, which is 22 feet coiled up in your system there. It's just amazing. And really, it's where the main event happens. This is where the pancreas dumps in a huge supply of enzymes that are really designed to finish digesting carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And that's where a lot of the majority of nutrient absorption happens. And what people get surprised at is, yes, I said pancreas, right? We've talked about the pancreas in so many episodes, but we talked about the pancreas in relation to blood sugar balance because it secretes insulin. It is an amazing organ, right? So the pancreas also secretes digestive enzymes. And what we know is that it can really help with nutrient absorption. So it's very important.
That's very cool. I had no idea about the pancreas doing that. I just have to say that I did find this funny cartoon, and it was a man in a therapy session talking to his therapist, and it's classic lying down. And then the man says, how am I supposed to trust my gut when it can't even handle a little dairy?
That is cute
That is
because it's
very
such an
cute.
interesting saying because there's so many things that go into that saying, right? We know about the gut brain connection, which is why we say trust your gut. When your gut feels a certain way, that's going to impact your brain. But in that play on words is if you can't handle dairy, like how am I supposed to know that it's really doing what it needs to do? I love that. I think that's
Not
so
good. I'll
cute.
send it to you because I think you might put it in some
I
present.
think it is so cute. Well, I want to go back to the digestive system, that 30-foot tube, though, because when we leave that small intestine, we go into the large intestine, and that's where water gets reabsorbed and gut bacteria get to work on whatever fiber and residual matter is left. And so, in short, the mouth starts the process, the stomach continues it, the pancreas does sort of the bulk of that enzymatic work releasing the enzymes, the small intestine absorbs it, and the colon wraps things up. It is an elegant sequential system that when everything's working well, you don't think about your digestion. When you're feeling pretty good and you're not bloated and you're not constipated, you're not having diarrhea, you're like, yeah, things are going well for me. But I think it's important to understand that if something does go wrong, there are certain enzymes that can really be a problem. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to actually meet the enzyme family. I'm going to introduce you to the enzyme family next. When I say digestive enzymes, it's really an umbrella term for different players, right? So each one of these enzymes has a very narrow job description. So I'm going to highlight these really quickly. First is amylase. This is a starch and carbohydrate specialist. It's in your saliva, it's produced in your pancreas, and its main job is to break down starchy foods like whatever you ate last night, Saranne. Rice and bread and potatoes, and it breaks it into smaller sugar units so your body can absorb it. So you can see how this would be really important. If someone was lacking amylase, which is that carbohydrate specialist, then they're not going to be able to break down carbohydrates, and that's going to be pretty uncomfortable.
So that even works for healthier carbs like brown rice.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, all of those, right? So those, healthy breads, potatoes, those are all important. Next is protease, and this is the protein cutting enzyme. Remember, each one of these is like a pair of specialized scissors to a particular food type, protein in this case. So protease is produced in the stomach and in the pancreas. So every time you eat chicken or tofu or eggs or beans, protease is the one that is taking those long protein chains and chopping them into amino acids. And what I think is interesting is how often do you think about how this food is actually nourishing your body when you eat it? Like the last time you ate chicken, did you think, oh, this is going to be broken down by the enzyme protease. And then this is going to go on and give me the amino acids I need to build strong muscles. We don't think about it. So I'm hoping this podcast is helping you think about it.
I love it. I've never thought about it this way. I had no idea, but I've seen those words before. I just didn't know what they meant and I didn't know what they did.
Well, I became inspired by this topic because I have a client that is not producing the right amount of enzymes and has to supplement. Now, that's not saying that this is what everybody who's listening to this podcast needs to do, but inspired me to kind of talk a little bit more about it. The next up in the lineup is lipase, and this is produced in the pancreas. The entire focus of this enzyme is to work on fat and the fat that you're eating. So, anytime you have olive oil, avocados, nuts, or fat that's in animal protein, lipase is really what allows your body to absorb and use it. And that includes fat soluble vitamins A, D, E, K that travel along with dietary fat. And that's important, right? Because if we have an issue where we don't have enough lipase, that means that we're not going to be breaking down the fat that we need to, which potentially means we're going to be missing out on some of those fat soluble vitamins, which hang out and travel through your system with the fat. So it's pretty important.
I didn't realize the vitamin connection either. This is fascinating, Jackie. If I didn't host this podcast, I would be listening to this podcast. It's
It
really
is fun. It's
interesting.
fun to talk about. And I think if we start understanding things a little bit better, it creates that compelling why we want to make the change. The one that I want to just mention that many people have heard of is lactase. So this is the fourth one. It's made in the small intestine. Lactase breaks down lactose, and that's the natural sugar that we find in milk and dairy, which was in your eating indiscretion last night.
I think everybody knows about that because of the commercials and the milk. That's a
I
really
think it has the
common one.
best PR company.
It does have the best PR company.
Yeah, it
But I
does.
think now lipase is gonna, because when people hear the relationship to fat, they're gonna be like, give me some of that lipase.
Well, we're going to talk about how you get it in food, right? So while this lactase and lactose may be the one we've really heard of, we also know that there are some people that might not make enough of it, right? So that's important to understand. And it could be that you're deficient in one of the enzymes. So it could be that you're not able to break down lactose, but you're fine with carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. There is one that maybe you haven't thought much about, and this is the alpha galactosidase. And this is an interesting one because unlike the ones we've just talked about, this one your body actually does not make. It's an enzyme that helps digest certain carbohydrates that you find in beans, lentils, and vegetables like broccoli and cabbage. I'm waiting for the song, Saranne.
I
Beans.
was singing it in my head. Beans are good for your heart. The more you eat, the more you fart. The more you fart, the better you feel. So let's have beans for every meal. I love that song. But it's funny because someone said to me, if you're going to have beans, you should soak them. If you're going to have beans, you should have it with rice. You won't fart as much. So, is there another trick that you're going to tell us?
Some people will take a digestive enzyme to support their body when they're eating beans that contain the alpha galactosidase. And that's going to be something that you can purchase at a store. And that's just because we don't produce that enzyme naturally. It's only available as a supplement, and it's the active ingredient in a lot of the gas relief products that you see near that digestive aisle. So I think the big takeaway from all the enzymes that we just talked about is that not all digestive enzymes do the same job, and a struggle with one specific food, for example, dairy, doesn't mean your entire digestive system is compromised. It might mean that you just need help with one specific enzyme. And in the case of dairy, it might be lactase. So that might be the challenge, right? So the big question I get at this point is, well, how do I know what I need? What are the signs that my body needs more support? And that's where I kind of want to go next.
Well, I was going to say, if you're farting up a storm and you can't get off the toilet after you eat and you're bloated, so you look 3 months pregnant, those are all good signs that maybe you need to talk to somebody like Jackie.
Well, it is, and it is important to speak with your healthcare provider, especially if you are experiencing these symptoms that you sort of described for a longer period of time. And the reason for that is they can be a sign of something other than an enzyme that's not working for you. So the most common signs that something might be going on with the enzymes are just what you said, Sarah: bloating, gas, general stomach discomfort, diarrhea, or that uncomfortable, overly full feeling after a meal that seems disproportionate to how much you actually ate. And again, I just want to be really clear about something. These signs and symptoms are common. They do not automatically mean that you have a diagnosed digestive enzyme deficiency. Digestion can be affected by so many things in our lives. And while this podcast is not about those things, we're just going to highlight them briefly. If you are under an enormous amount of stress, you're going to experience probably gut issues. It's one of the first things that starts shutting down. If you eat too quickly, if your food quality is poor, if your gut motility is slow, and there's dozens of other factors. So if these symptoms do show up consistently, they can be a sign that your digestive system needs some additional support and they are worth paying attention to rather than just pushing through.
Yeah, I can imagine if you're living on a lot of processed foods that you could develop more complications. And if you are just eating all fast food, I think that might lead to some trouble.
Yeah, for sure. Think about the inflammation that those foods cause in the body, right? It significantly impacts your overall health and well-being. Now, if we throw into the equation cancer treatment or lack of sleep or some other stressors on the body, eventually your body will struggle, right? We don't want to tax it too much, right? I think one of the clearest, most well-documented examples of an enzyme-related issue is lactose. That was the one, or that lactose intolerance that we were talking about. That's the most common. And that's really when the lactase levels are low and you have undigested lactose that moves into the colon where the gut bacteria that's down there starts to ferment it. And that fermentation produces gas, which is exactly why dairy can cause bloating, cramping, diarrhea in those people that don't have enough of the enzyme.
And it's interesting because I think we all went through that phase, especially when we were young, because the fast food stuff is cheap, the packaged food is cheaper, and we do that. But that might not last long, right? That could be just for that era of time. And then payback is terrible. It really comes back and haunts you later in life.
Yeah, it does. It makes a big difference. I think it's important to understand that there are short-term and long-term consequences to fast food and foods that are highly processed. And I think about our generation, Saranne, in particular, we are the packaged food, processed food generation. So we have to fight a little bit for ourselves to be able to eat whole food. We know now as an adult, but starting children off with a fast food processed diet is really setting them up for maybe sickness later in life.
I know my dad didn't mean that. He did his best, but I did have way too much food that I would never eat today, for sure.
Yeah. But a part of it too is also we don't know. People just didn't know, right? They didn't have the information. It was like how cigarette smoking started, right? People weren't thinking necessarily about the implications it had for their lung health and cancer and all of those things. So, but now we know, right? So, and that's why we're starting the conversation here. On a more clinical end of the spectrum, there is a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. We label it EPI. And this actually happens when the pancreas isn't producing enough digestive enzymes overall. And this can affect digestion of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. So just think about it for a second. We know that the pancreas is going to secrete all of these so that we can eat our chicken, our piece of toast, or even our avocado. And if it is not producing those, that EPI can be tied to aging, it can be from genetics, it can be chronic digestive disorders or other conditions that directly affect pancreatic function. So that's pretty important.
Jackie, how would we know if our pancreas wasn't doing that?
Well, this is where I would suggest looping in your healthcare provider instead of trying to push through things, right? If you know your gut has really been a challenge. And I actually just referred a patient out to a GI specialist because there were certain things that we were doing together where it wasn't a normal response, right? And in that situation, those red flags I took seriously, right? Because digestive symptoms that are more frequent rather than just occasional.
Is that a scan? How would someone know?
There's a full comprehensive workup that would involve potentially stool specimens, scans, blood work. There's a whole gamut of things that they would run. And that's why it's important to go to a GI specialist if you suspect that something's going on, especially if you have unexplained weight loss, diarrhea that doesn't resolve, any digestive issue that's significant enough that you're not able to live your normal life, right? Those are not things that you're supposed to self-diagnose your way through. You actually need to go in for testing. And I think that's really important. So again, don't push through it, get checked. But I will say that one of the biggest questions I get asked is, should I take a digestive enzyme supplement? So if we break down really what's on the market, the lactase is sold on its own to help people digest dairy more comfortably. There's the alpha galactosidase, which is the one for beans, right? And I'm not going to have you sing the song again,
No,
Saranne.
but I was going to say, I remember when that marketing got really big and there was a
hmm
product. We don't sell products, but there was a product with a very easy name to remember instead of the
hmm
name that you keep saying. Took off. Everywhere you went, you saw
It
people
is.
popping these little
Well,
enzymes because of the
it's still
marketing.
popular. It's
Yeah.
still popular. But there are multi-enzyme formulas that combine the enzymes we just talked about, the amylase that breaks down carbs, the protease that breaks down protein, the lipase that breaks down fats. It puts it all together to help support digestion. And then there is even prescription strength enzymes, and those are usually specifically for that population of people that have been diagnosed with the pancreatic enzyme deficiency, the EPI. And this is different category than what you and I are talking about, but I think it's nice to understand sort of the spectrum. So when we think about who will actually benefit from taking an enzyme supplement, those are the people that are diagnosed with lactose intolerant, people who are consistently having a difficult time with a certain specific food group, those people that are diagnosed with an enzyme deficiency, and people that have certain pancreatic conditions. And what's interesting is when we're in cancer treatment, our digestion can change, right? It could be that you need the assistance of a digestive enzyme while you're in treatment, but then afterwards, you might not need it. I think it's really important to understand that most healthy individuals already produce enough digestive enzymes on their own to handle normal digestion. So supplementing isn't automatically necessary just because digestion isn't perfect all the time. And I think that's one of the things that we need to consider. The research is clear that lactose intolerance and exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, which we talked about, really do benefit from supplementation. That research is solid. It gets a little bit murkier with broad spectrum digestive enzymes, like we were just talking about. I'm not saying they don't work, but they're not studied quite as heavily. So if you're going to try a digestive enzyme supplement, I always recommend talking to your provider first, but you want to choose a product that is reputable. It is quality tested brands, right? Third party verified if possible. Read the ingredient label rather than trusting the front of the bottle, and always follow those dosing directions on the package. And if you do have an existing medical condition, you want to loop in your healthcare provider before starting anything new, because there are side effects to taking these digestive enzymes, right? You can get, and it's pretty uncommon, but you could get nausea, stomach discomfort, diarrhea, constipation. And if you notice any of those, you should absolutely stop.
It's kind of funny because that's why I take them to avoid
I know, I know. Well, it is funny when you think about it, because there's so often the situation where we start taking something and it causes something else, right? This is where we just need to be really in tune with our bodies. I actually subscribe to the good old fashioned way of supporting digestion, right? So, I would even go as far as to say, before you go shopping for any supplement, let's talk about healthy digestion foundation. So the supplements for digestive enzymes can be helpful in the right situation, but nothing trumps the healthy habits and really supporting that digestive system. So first, you want to eat a balanced diet. That's the fruits, the vegetables, the whole grains, the lean proteins, the healthy fats, that varied plate. Eating the rainbow that we've talked about so many times gives your digestive system all the raw materials and the enzymes and the cofactors it needs to function properly in the first place. That's exciting to me. So making sure that you're getting a healthful diet.
I also love that you teach us this visual concept of 9 to 13 colors. Try to get 9 to 13 different colors of fruits and vegetables. I also love that episode on label detectives. We refer to those two things all the time.
It is. It is so helpful. You're not going to know what you're eating unless you read the label. Marketing companies are really clever at catching your eye on the shelf, right? You walk by, you're like, ooh, this looks good. And you grab it, put it in your cart, and you buy it. You have to flip it over. You got to read the backside of the label. The second recommendation for lifestyle for supporting your digestive system, especially those enzymes, is getting enough fiber. We've devoted whole episodes of our podcast to fiber because fiber supports regular bowel movements, it supports overall digestive health, and you'll find good sources of fiber in those whole foods that we talked about, the vegetables, the beans, the whole grains, the nuts, the seeds like pumpkin seeds. There you go. I said it.
She said it. She has to always give us pumpkin seed. You
Yeah,
should have your own stack of pumpkin seed company.
if your digestion feels sluggish, fiber intake is one of the very first places that I look as a provider. Third, you want to stay hydrated. Water is actually what allows the food to move through your digestive tract efficiently. So aim to sip fluids consistently across the day rather than trying to chug a large amount all at once. And then fourth, and this one's really simple and it gets overlooked. I need you to chew your food. I need you to chew your food thoroughly.
That's so funny because we all think about how cows chew. They just chew and they keep on chewing and they keep on chewing. And I saw you once at a meal and you do that chewing thing. I'm talking and chewing and swallowing before I've chewed and chewed, but you really do chew your food.
Are you calling me a cow?
Well, it's better
Chew
than
like
a
a cow.
pepper.
So I think it's good to remember digestion begins in your mouth with the amylase enzyme in your saliva. So taking the time to actually chew gives that process a head start, right? It takes the pressure off everything else downstream. If you're sending huge particles down your digestive tract, it just creates more work for your body. So chew away.
But Jackie, does something happen when you smell the food first? Does that stimulate it?
Yes. Yeah. It's actually stimulating. You have such a good memory.
Yeah, I thought
You
you
really do.
said that. I thought you said, look at your food and then smell
Yeah.
your food because it starts a process. I just didn't know if it was this process that it started, but
It is. Gosh, you're so smart. So, the cephalic phase of digestion, it's that romantic experience of digestion. It's when you smell your food and you get the juices flowing, your mouth starts to water. In that water that's in your mouth is amylase and some of these digestive enzymes that are necessary for breaking these things down. So, you're
oh,
exactly
look at
right.
me
So,
remembering something from the 433 episode.
I know it's so impressive. Staying physically active is the fifth tip, and the regular movement supports healthy digestion. It keeps the food moving through your digestive tract. You don't have to make it a formal workout like going to the gym, pump and iron. It can be something as simple as a short walk after a meal that can make a big difference. And then the last one, we sort of alluded to it earlier, which is manage your stress. One thing that really surprises people is that stress has a direct measurable effect on digestion. It can contribute to gut issues. I'm a big example of that. And changes in bowel habits, right? So I was always that kid that got the upset stomach when I was stressed. So if you're technically eating a perfect meal and feeling stressed out in that activated state, your digestive system is not operating at the best capacity. And so I've sort of adopted this healthy behavior, which is when I'm feeling wound tighter than a top, really stressed, I don't usually eat at that time. I take a few moments to take some deep breaths, to slow things down, just so that I'm able to give my gut the attention it needs so that when I do eat the food, it's going to be absorbed the way it should be.
Well, that's a great tip, Jackie, because I think a lot of us eat when we're emotional, whether it's for comfort or just we have to eat something and we don't take that pause enough to really reset ourselves. Oh, I love that tip.
Yeah, it's really important. I think if we bring it all together, we know that the digestive enzymes are those specialized proteins, the amylase for carbs, protease for protein, lipase for fats, and that occasional bloating and discomfort doesn't mean you've got something majorly wrong, but you do need to pay attention to it and bring your healthcare provider in when necessary. Supplements can work in the right situation, but again, that's something you talk about with your provider. But I personally think that leaving today, having a balanced, healthy, fiber-rich diet with good hydration, proper chewing, regular exercise, and stress management is going to put you in a really good position to manage those gut woes that you might be experiencing.
Thanks so much, Jacqui. I really learned a lot from this episode. I wish I had heard it before I did that sinful dietary moment last night.
Will
My
you text
husband.
me? Will you text me later and tell me what it was you actually ate?
Okay, I will.
I feel like I need to know now.
It was so bad. I haven't done something like that in so long. So it was, yeah, it was not a good dietary evening. But now that I've learned all about enzymes, I'm really going to think about this and do it. So now I know that when I'm eating whole foods like fiber and nuts and seeds and fruits and vegetables, I'm actually enabling my body to do its job and provide the necessary enzymes, whether it's from the pancreas or it's starting in the saliva of my mouth, that I am helping my body do its job, plus all those other behaviors that you said.
You are. Yeah. And that's the name of the game, right? So take away the things that are hurting you, the processed foods, the inactivity, the not enough hydration, bring in the things that are going to help you, the hydration, the whole foods, because those specific whole foods have many of the enzymes in it that are going to assist your body to do what it needs to do, right? That beautiful machine of yours.
And sugar, just white sugar and candy and Twinkies and soda, that's not Whole Foods. Just because you get it at the store Whole Foods doesn't mean that there's anything that's going to serve this enzyme production. So stay away from those.
Yes,
Jackie,
yes.
I love this play date. It is so fun to meet you every week and learn so much from you. Thank you so much for coming back to Beating Cancer Daily.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun today.
Yes. And if you have sneaky ways that you're increasing your enzyme production, there are certain things that you're doing or not doing, you can go to comedycures.org and you can share it with me through the contact menu. Just write to me, or you could go to the podcast section and record a message to me. I love hearing from you. I share it with Jackie. It's a lot of fun when you stay in touch with us. We have this amazing community in over 149 countries listening to the 440 daily, 7-day a week episodes. So just stay in touch and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a blessed day. If you loved today's episode, then tell the world. Why? Because Beating Cancer Daily is a listener and donor supported experience. So the more people you tell and the more people that join us, the more robust and interesting programs our nonprofit, the Comedy Cures Foundation, can bring to you throughout the year. So if you have some extra change, I'd love you to go to comedycures.org and make a donation today of whatever level is comfortable for you. And it will be tax deductible to the extent allowed by law, because Comedy Cures is a nonprofit 501c3 organization founded from my chemo chair, April 1999, and we've been going strong ever since. So please consider making a donation today and help our community and this podcast thrive. Guess what time it is? It's time for me to read the disclaimer. Beating Cancer Daily and the membership circle are not in lieu of medical advice or treatment. They are for entertainment purposes only. Please consult your healthcare team to review your best strategy. Thanks for listening. See you guys tomorrow.